Hello, welcome to Playback. My name is Nate.
My name is Brandon.
This is the show where two music producers pick an album by the Shags and then force you to listen to it. But today, against convention, Brandon actually picked an album by Gorillaz, Plastic Beach. Brandon, what is Plastic Beach and why did you pick it?
Yes. For one of the reasons is to cleanse the palate after something like the Shags, which we will do from time to time on the show. But we also like to do really good music. Plastic Beach is it's from 2010, I think, right? It's the third album by Gorillaz, who I think everybody knows who Gorillaz are, even if you haven't like really gotten into them in a big way or like really listened to their albums. I think everybody has seen them, knows what they are at least, and
especially from our
singles,
especially from like our era, like growing up, like millennials. Like this is one of the major bands of the 2000s, 2010s, even.
Yes,
that kind of everybody, they were ubiquitous. They were one of the big bands.
It's definitely. Astute to mention millennials when it comes to Gorillaz, because I normally think of like our bands being like, people like Rage Against the Machine or something like that, but Gorillaz is very much like
our era.
And I picked it because we love the game of favorite best around here. I would say, probably, in my opinion, I think Demon Days is probably their best album.
This is tough.
It's debatable.
Yeah,
that's what I would put that one down as best, which is their second one. But Plastic Beach is my favorite.
I think after going through this of listening to all their stuff, you could even argue that this is their best, though. I think you could easily make that argument.
This is the other one that I did, just from like kind of getting a feel for the discourse in the Gorillaz fandom. I think a plurality of people probably say Demon Days is the best one, but this is the number two one, where if someone is going to say that it's not Demon Days, they're going to say it's Plastic Beach.
I personally do think this is better than Demon Days. I really do. Demon Days is unbelievable, but to me, it's not even a problem. It's a strength, and it's kind of a con at the same time. Is the Danger Mouse aspect of it. I love his production, but it's also so Danger Mouse. It almost feels more like a Danger Mouse album sometimes than Gorillaz. Like this album, Plastic Beach, I can hear Gorillaz because they self-produced it. It just sounds more like what you kind of would expect Gorillaz to sound like if you go see their show or something like that. Like, it just sounds more them, whereas Demon Days, it really just, like, I hear like Modern Guilt by Beck. Like, it sounds like that, but it just has that really typical Danger Mouse sound to it that, while being really good, it's also a little bit dated to the mid 2000s when Danger Mouse was kind of everywhere producing for everybody.
Danger Mouse kind of ruled the world for a second there in the 2000s. But you're right. The first three Gorillaz albums are, I feel, are the ones that really establish and encapsulate the quote unquote the Gorillaz sound. So first of all, Gorillaz, if you don't know Gorillaz, who is that? It's two people.
Yeah.
It's one guy who makes all the music and another guy who does all the animation.
Right.
Because Gorillaz is what do they call it? A virtual band.
Virtual band, yeah.
Yeah. The band members are cartoon characters.
Of cartoon characters, yeah.
Yeah.
Which is one of the coolest concepts for a band of all time. Like,
Yes. And when it first came out, was it 2001?
Yeah.
2000? I remember it really well because one of my best friends of my entire life, Colin, got me Gorillaz' first album when it first came out for my birthday. This is the age that we were. I had a birthday party at my house and all my friends came. And we cut a cake.
That's how old you are.
That was the age that we were. but he got me Gorillaz' first album, and like literally within days of it coming out. So I didn't even know that Gorillaz existed. And yeah, just the idea of a band that is cartoon characters was such a novel idea and so cool and just interesting, and it's just so easy to get into. You know, Gorillaz is very, I don't know, it's very pleasing. Like it's very, they're easy to like.
Yeah, and I
You know,
think part of it is because like they're like by nature of their like collaboration, like that's kind of like one of the things that they're so that's so imbued into the band is the spirit of collaboration. I think the cartoon avatars and even the cartoon avatars they give to all their collaborators, it opens up the aperture of like possibility musically, weirdly. Like
yeah,
you can kind of do anything, and they do. They just do anything that they want to do. They collaborate with whoever they want to collaborate with, and it makes kind of nothing feel impossible to this band. And I mean, if you look at their list of collaborators, it's
yeah.
like every amazing artist you can think of, like has collaborated one way or another with this band. But
Because the entire originating idea is that this is a band that exists in a cartoon universe,
right.
And just like Wile E. Coyote can do anything, and you know, walk off the edge of a cliff and stand in midair until he realizes that he's standing on the air, and you know, like anything is possible in a cartoon. So this is music that takes place in a cartoon universe,
right. That's how you get Bobby Womack singing with the Clash,
yeah,
or whatever. You know what I mean?
yeah. And I think that Plastic Beach is significant because it sort of marks the transition out of what is, in my mind, that first era of Gorillaz, which consists of the first 3 albums. And to me, that is the period of time where it was so clear and palpable in the music that it is taking place inside that cartoon universe. You know, it feels like this music is being made by the cartoon members of the band, of which there are 4. 2D is the singer, keyboard player. Murdoch is the bass player. Russell is the drummer. Noodle is the guitar player. So it's these 4 characters. And in these first 3 albums, for me, consuming Gorillaz has always been primarily through the music and secondarily through the animation.
Yeah.
For myself. And I know it's not like that for everybody. Like there's some real big fans of the lore and that comic book aspect of the project that so for a lot of people is an equal part, and for some even more what they're interested in than the music. But for me, it was always primarily the music.
Yeah,
and I feel
I agree with you, and I would say this episode is going to focus on the music, not the animated lore stuff, which is great, but it's
I care more about the music. I love the animated stuff too, but and for me, after Plastic Beach, it stopped feeling like this music is coming from the cartoon characters.
I agree.
And it started to feel more like it's coming from Damon Albarn.
Yeah.
So Damon Albarn is the music one, and what's his name? Jamie Hewlett?
Jamie Hewlett, yeah.
Jamie Hewlett is the animation one.
I would say I agree with you too, that it feels like that balance shifts kind of during this album where it's more a Damon thing. And while the music is great, I feel like their later stuff, like Humans onward, up until The Mountain, which just came out, but Humans onward, that imbalance kind of is a detriment to the band, actually, ironically, even though I agree with you that like
you're saying the imbalance of the music becoming way more prominent than the animation. I agree.
The music weirdly kind of suffers because it's not imbued with that wild kind of animated cartoon universe spirit like their early stuff is. So like I don't know, like Humans and like I think Song Cycle and Cracker
the now
Cracker Island. I kind of like Cracker Island, okay, but like all those are kind of like, it just feels like Jamie Hewlett was pushed a little more to the background, and I don't like the animation as much either, like the direction they went in, like the style, it's like very like digital looking. It just feels pushed to the background a little bit. And I think the project as a whole, the original idea of Gorillaz, it suffers because of it. And I feel like they've gotten it back with The Mountain. The Mountain is like, to me, it's right in there with those first three. Like, as like,
you're a big fan of The Mountain.
Oh my
Yes.
God, I love The Mountain so much. Which that's not what this episode's about, but that album just came out and it's fucking so good. I couldn't believe how good it was. Actually,
we and we will talk about it. We'll get into it. But these first three albums, what's interesting about them is the first two, like you brought up, Danger Mouse, who produced Demon Days, is the first two were Damon Albarn working with a primary producer of the entire album, right? So the whole even the making of the album itself, all the music, all the backing tracks of every song was a collaboration between him as a songwriter and a producer. The first one is with Dan the Automator. And then the second one is with Danger Mouse. And then Plastic Beach. This is the first one and possibly the only Gorillaz album, I think, where there is no collaboration on the production. It's just Damon Albarn by himself.
And weirdly, it's my favorite. I think the production on this is like one of the strengths if you compare it to the first two. Like it doesn't sound, it sounds more polished than the first one. It sounds more pro. It sounds modern, and it doesn't sound dated like the second one does to me a little bit.
The dated thing, that's what made me think of that when you said that. I think Dan the Automator a little bit less so, but for sure Danger Mouse has that quality of being really identified with a point in time.
2005.
With the 2000s, yeah.
It just sounds like 2005 to me. Like,
and the aspect of timelessness, like I feel like a lot of the music on the first album is
it's timeless.
Really timeless. And for sure this one.
And I would say the songwriting on the second one is also timeless.
Yes.
But it's the specific production style.
Yes.
I'm just like, there's 2005. I remember when I was 15 again. Here we are. Like,
exactly. And so when you see that across the three albums, it really reveals it's that quality of timelessness that specifically Damon Albarn brings to it. And it's trippy, man. It's like he's been... It's not even that he's ahead of his time, because that's one way that you could look at it. It's like, wow, check out the songs on the first album. Like in 2001, he was like writing songs that are like 25 years ahead of their time. Holy crap.
Still sound fresh.
Exactly. Because I don't think that they're ahead of they're just like outside of time.
Yeah.
They're like so futuristic that like time is not even going to catch up to the way that he writes these things.
Yeah.
You know, they're not a throwback to old things.
I think that the timelessness of Gorillaz, it ties right into the theme and the whole concept behind Plastic Beach, which is Plastic Beach being like one man's trash is another man's treasure. Like anything you throw away may become incorporated into something that could be called art even. And I think if you just look at like the collaborators on this album, you've got Bobby Womack, you've got Lou Reed, you've got The Clash, three unequivocal legends, right? Who in 2010 couldn't be like less relevant, less popular, less active, right?
Yeah.
We as like music consumers had essentially thrown them in the trash.
Yeah,
right?
Those were all dead and gone artists in 2010.
And yet this trash, Damon Albarn, picked them out of their relative career obscurity. And
damn, I never thought about it like that.
And turned it like into gold, really. Like
wow.
Like they're the best parts of the album in a lot of ways. But yeah, I mean, it ties right into Plastic Beach. I mean, that's what Plastic Beach is. It's a big trash island that is like this beautiful piece of art, you know?
Yeah, right. So this is a concept album.
Yeah.
And the new album, The Mountain, is I think that's the main way that it that the mountain feels like a return to this first era
Big time.
of Gorillaz is because of the structure of the album and the way that it has a unifying concept.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. The concept is woven into the music in a way just like Plastic Beach is, that the mountain is. The mountain and Plastic Beach they really feel like brother and sister to me. Plastic Beach being kind of like a nihilistic kind of like sad kind of outlook on the world, like, and the mountain being this kind of beautiful, like, find art through like death and dying and stuff like that. They're very similar, but they're very different at the same time. The mountain is very like optimistic and positive, and Plastic Beach is kind of cynical in its concept, but at the same time,
Plastic Beach is more snarky, right?
Yeah,
It's making it's taking a humorous turn on what was it called? The giant fucking plastic island that's in the middle of the ocean, right?
Right.
We were just talking about this before we started recording. Oh, it's called the Great Pacific Garbage Patch.
Yeah.
This is an accumulation of all the trash, human crap that is just floating in the ocean, is just like kind of floated together.
Mm-hmm.
And there's just a big clump of it that is it's between California and Hawaii in the Pacific Ocean. Okay. Do you know how big this plastic island is?
No, you were alluding to it before we started, but
Google says it is roughly 620,000 square miles, which is roughly twice the size of Texas.
Oh my God.
Or 3 times the size of France.
Oh my God. Right. So file that under things we used to care about. Now we don't care about the Plastic Beach in the middle of the ocean anymore. We're just gonna let it happen.
So that's the unifying thematic thread throughout Plastic Beach. It really stood out to me on these listen throughs how often the word plastic is used, and how many it's used in like 5 or 6 different songs, maybe even more than that.
And the way they implemented the concept is honestly brilliant. All Damon Albarn would tell his collaborators or musicians or whoever was just like, look, the album's called Plastic Beach. Whatever that means to you, write lyrics, whatever, play in a certain way, whatever. It just has to like kind of inform that concept or idea. There's not like a story. It's not like specific.
Right.
It's really loose.
It's a theme.
It's a theme. Yeah. It's really loose, and it actually weirdly makes the concept stronger, because it's kind of, what does Plastic Beach mean to you, Lou Reed? Like, that's cool.
Yeah.
I want to know that. Like, not filtered through Damon Albarn necessarily. Like how do you see Plastic Beach? Like Bobby Womack or fucking Mick Jones of The Clash? Like, and it's they all bring something to the concept, rather than the concept is like enforced from like a top down kind of way on all the artists.
Right. Or written for them.
Right.
Yeah. And you get a diversity of it. Like Lou Reed is saying phrases like digital foils.
Yeah.
And
so fucking good.
Damon Albarn, one of my favorite lines on the entire album in Broken, it's by the light of the plasma screens we leave switched on while we sleep.
Yeah.
So because of the diversity of the way that concept shows up, it does a better job, I feel, of evoking like the pervasiveness of the situation.
Yes.
And then in Superfast Jellyfish, and De La Soul brings it now in the concept of food.
Yeah.
And
everyone brings something to it, and it feels more comprehensive by that nature.
Because that's the world situation that we have. It is completely comprehensive. It's not a narrow issue.
Yeah.
That results in the big garbage patch in the ocean. It's the every little tiny aspect of our entire society and the way that we live is involved in it, you know?
Right.
And so the album feels that way. It's like this concept shows up being plugged in a million different ways. A song that's like a love song, like To Binge or something, like it still mentions the word plastic in it. You know, it's like, it's crazy. It's a love song.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, the looseness at which the concept is enforced is like a huge strength of
even
the
on
record.
Melancholy Hill.
Yeah.
Up on Melancholy Hill, there's a plastic tree.
Yep.
So now you're thinking about what's normally organic, but it's plastic. Anyway, yeah, it's really great. You and I went to go see Gorillaz live in LA.
True. That's true.
They
shout
performed.
Shout out Julie Dara. She gave us tickets to go see.
Gave us see, it's all who you know.
Yeah.
Thank you for the tickets. They performed the Mountain in its entirety, like, what was it, like a week before it came out or something?
It was a couple days or so, yeah, maybe a week. And just an amazing show. I think we counted, it was 30 musicians on stage performing the entirety of the Mountain. Like every part was covered by like a real musician, save for like some of the, like Black Thought couldn't make it.
I know Black Thought wasn't there. That was a big bummer. But I got to see one of my heroes, Booty Brown.
Yep.
Was there.
Yep.
That was amazing. Del the Funky Homo Sapien was there.
Nuts.
So dope.
We were watching the show and we just looked at each other and we're like, well, obviously we're doing Gorillaz.
we have to do Gorillaz next.
Yeah.
I just looked at you like during the show. I'm like, you know, in that concert voice, I'm going to pick Plastic Beach next.
Yeah.
But yeah, okay, first impression. So I don't know about you, how familiar you are with this album before I picked it, how many times, how long it's been since you listened to it. I have no idea. So tell me, what was it like to listen to this sheet for you?
So I remember listening to it quite a bit when it first came out, and then I really just dropped off on Gorillaz after this. They had the huge hiatus for 7 years right before Humans came out, and I wasn't really into that, and I just didn't fall. This was like the last time I really paid attention to like what they were up to. So I remember listening to it quite a bit when it came out. It was like everywhere, everyone was listening to it. I remember it being on kind of at like house parties and stuff like that. And I kind of dove into it myself and I thought it was great. And then that was kind of the end. I didn't really re-listen to it since it came out. So it was like really this whole period, the last couple of weeks, seeing them live. And we also got to go to the House of Kong art exhibit, like and the new album coming out. It's really like right now has been like an amazing period of like rediscovery of their whole catalog. But yeah, I mean, my first impression of this album was just that it stands out. It really stands out in their catalog as like kind of clearly their best one for me. Although I do admit that that's pretty subjective, given that they have 4 albums that are like basically 10s, 9s or 10s.
Which 4? I think I know.
The first 3 in the Mountain are like, those are all like variations of like, I would say Demon Days and this are like 10s, and the first one in the Mountain is like a 9. They both are.
Can I just say, because, also, we've been listening to Gorillaz for more than 2 weeks. So on a normal episode, we spend 2 weeks with the music. Yeah. We've been listening to this for probably like 4 weeks,
It's been about a month, yeah.
Yeah, because we were gonna record this album, and then there's just a crazy situation over at my house. I couldn't be at my house for like a week. It was a crazy thing. Somebody was murdered on my property, but not by me. But it's a long story.
It's a long story, and the way you just phrased it
story.
Makes it sound like you got away with it. Let me just put it that way.
I didn't do it. That's all I'll say, and that is the truth. But hey, this
we're late for a really
these
good
things
reason.
happen when you live in South Central Los Angeles. These are just parts of life. But
I was driving to go pick up Brandon to go see the House of Kong exhibit.
That's the day that it happened.
The day that it happened, and I had to circle the block because the whole like his street was blocked off with like police tape, like 3-4 blocks around, and I was like, "What the fuck's going on?" Helicopters, cop cars everywhere.
There's like 100 cops.
Yeah, and I was like, man, that sucks. Like that's like right by Brandon's house. And then I called him and was like, what's going on? And like no phone call answer. And then I got a text from you that was like, hold on, I'm talking to the police. And I was like, what the fuck is happening?
Yeah.
And so we were almost late to the House of Kong thing. But yeah, there was a really scary situation that Brandon had to deal with. In your complex
that's why this episode is delayed.
Yeah,
but we did make it to House of Kong, which is it's like an exhibition of Gorillaz artwork. It's a very cool thing. It's like an interactive, experienceable museum of Gorillaz stuff.
I'll
Super
say,
cool.
If you haven't seen it, or if it's, I hope it tours. If you didn't get a chance to see it, it's easily one of the coolest things any band has ever done of all time. It was so neat. It really, like, especially for us who, like, we're such nerds about the music, you know, and that is like definitely the more important aspect of the band to me. It really felt like Jamie Hewlett's like magnum opus for Gorillaz. Like
Damon gets the spotlight so much of the time, and this was just like stand back Damon, full on Jamie Hewlett, like check out everything that this guy has created that makes Gorillaz what it is, and it's like, holy shit, this is just as important as the music.
It's just as important, and it's just as absolutely genius in its own way, like
absolutely
in its
genius
own way. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like it's like having I forget who's the guy that did all the Pink Floyd album covers, who's like a brilliant genius. You know, it's like Hypnosis. Yeah, it's like if he had his own like official spot and role in the band and was given even more runway to like explore the art and the way the lyrics and everything like interact with the visual elements of the band. Like it's just not to spoil it, and I don't think we should really go into it too deep for this episode anyway.
We shouldn't spoil what's actually in there.
Yeah, you really got to go see it
because you want to. It's great when it's a surprise.
Yeah. We'll talk about that and kind of the experience going to the show like throughout the episode.
So I, just like you, basically lost interest in Gorillaz post Plastic Beach. I listened to Humans. I was like, yeah, whatever.
Me too.
When the Now came out, I kind of checked it out a little bit, listened to a few songs, like, yeah, whatever.
That one's pretty good, but it's not.
So when Cracker Island came out, I literally never even listened to it.
I didn't realize it came out. I didn't even know about it.
Didn't even know that it existed.
Yeah.
Okay. Then The Mountain comes out. It's exciting. We see it live. If we hadn't gone to see it live, I don't know if I would have checked it out. But I don't know. It's sort of like in the ether now. Like people are excited, especially with the new animation.
The response to it's been really strong.
Yeah. So I probably would have. But I gotta say, in all of my listen through, the album that I have latched onto and is like I'm obsessed with right now. In my mind, this is like my album of the now, and it's like one of my new favorite albums. It is Cracker Island.
I listened to it.
I fucking love Cracker Island.
I think it's great. I really do. A lot of people really don't like it. Like the first time I heard the Tame Impala collaboration, I was kind of like, I don't know. And then re-listening to, I'm like, that song's like totally stuck in my head. Like I really do like Cracker Island. I don't like the art direction at all, but I do really like the music on it. My only thing about it is that it doesn't sound. It just kind of sounds like modern pop music, a lot of it, whereas The Mountain has like a real perspective, you know what I mean? Like it has like a real concept behind it. It's not just doing really well produced modern pop music, which is kind of what Cracker Island sounds like to me, even though it's great.
Yeah. So Cracker Island is a return of that older format of Damon Albarn working with one singular producer. to produce the entire thing, right? It's Greg Kurstin, the dude
Oh.
who basically made Adele,
Yeah, he's like
right?
one of the biggest producers alive.
Yes, this dude makes fantastic music, and yeah, it is way poppy. Cracker Island is not a concept album like how The Mountain and Plastic Beach and
It
Demon
kind
Days
of
are.
is. It kind of is. It's like about the Gorillaz going to an island and they start a cult or something like that.
They started cool, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, every album is a concept album in the way that there's the comic book lore story component to every album.
Yeah.
They all have that, right?
Yeah.
Even the Now and Humans have that too.
It's just some are way stronger than others.
Yeah, and just from the music standpoint alone, Cracker Island seems to be it's a collection of songs.
Yeah.
But man, I love it because it's the return of the songwriting. It's the return of the singing. Like after Plastic Beach was the last album before, like I said before, where it stopped being, I wonder what Gorillaz is going to do next. And after that point, it started to become, I wonder what Damon Albarn is going to do next.
It's true. It's true.
It became transparently his project.
Yeah.
And in a really weird way, he like fell into the background, and he just started, like all of his performances just started to become his distorted voice through the megaphone effect. And just doing the same meandering melody. I just do this and say some lyrics.
And then it's just
really
like
mean anything.
And then it's just call whoever like is a really big rapper at the time and have them rap on it.
And then every song becomes like some kind of like how Stylo is like Knight Rider.
Yeah.
You know, it's just a bunch of Knight Rider songs with a rapper. And then Damon does one thing.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yep.
And Cracker Island, he comes back. He comes out from behind the megaphone. He's actually singing. There's actually melodies. There's actually lyrics. It's the interesting songwriting comes back. Like Skinny Ape, like the way that it's structured, it feels like it's like from the first album. And dude, Stevie Nicks, man.
Stevie Nicks is dope.
Come on.
It's dope.
That shit sounds so good.
Yeah, it's dope.
The bass line in Baby Queen is like my new favorite bass line of all time. Anyway.
Yeah.
Okay. I love Cracker Island. That's all I'm saying.
I'm the Mountain all the way, dude. I'm like Mountain is I'm ride or die for the Mountain right now.
The Mountain, I'm so satisfied with the Mountain in its what it is thematically and what it is as a whole thing. And there are some really good songs on it. You know, I do like Moon Cave. I do like Orange County. But in my opinion, the first three, they have a multitude of just like banger ass songs that you can dance to, that you can sing along. You know what I mean? That just like stick with you. And I feel that the Mountain has only got a couple. As a large creation, I love it. It's fantastic. But I don't know. It lacks those little nuggets.
I really disagree. I do think that it is. It's amazing. I really do. But you know what? Let's save our thoughts for the Mountain in the future episode when we cover it, when Brandon changes his mind and realizes how brilliant it is.
Let's talk about Plastic Beach.
Let's talk about it.
So yeah, you know, like we said before, this album is kind of a transition one where this is the last one for a long time, maybe until you get to the Mountain or Cracker Island or something, where it really feels like it is made by these characters.
Yeah, and it feels like both halves of the Gorillaz, Jamie and Damon, are like both cheeks in it. like full.
Are you talking about butt cheeks?
Butt cheeks, yes. Gorilla butt cheeks.
I was like, both face cheeks? What? I don't get you.
It's the last time they both feel like fully invested for a really long time.
Yeah, I think it wasn't that like the reason why they took that 7-year hiatus is
I think around this time, like the focus of the band kind of skewed very heavily on to the music end, like kind of during this actually, even though like the artwork and like everything like around the Jamie half of this album is so strong.
Yeah.
Like when it came to like performing live and stuff like that, I think there's a quote from Jamie where he said, he was like, in the early days of the band, it would be like the entire band would be behind a screen, and they would sync it up in a way where it like appeared that like the cartoon characters were playing the show, and you would never even see Damon Albarn or the drummer or anybody. They would be behind a screen, which I would give anything to have seen one of those shows. It sounds so cool.
The cartoon characters were the ones on stage.
Right.
Yes.
And then by the time the second and third, and especially the third album, Plastic Beach, came around, I think Jamie Hewlett said something like, he was like, Damon is up there on stage and he's playing with the Clash and Bobby Womack and like the London Symphony Orchestra or whoever. It's like the greatest band ever assembled on stage, right? Most Def, yeah, De La Soul. It's like the greatest band ever assembled, coolest group of musicians of all time, right? And then in the background, there's like a TV screen with the cartoon characters. And it's like, he just was like, dude, at this point, this is not like what I signed up for anymore. And I think that was like a big clash for them where Jamie was just like,
intended.
Yeah, Jamie was just like, I'm out. Like this isn't kind of what I signed up for. The balance was off. And I think even though this is really good and it's amazing, I would agree with him. I would say the balance was skewed too far into Damon world a little bit.
Yeah, and that is a really significant part of that transition, which is the Plastic Beach tour is the first time, and then forever after this, where it's humans on stage, and not behind the screen. This also too is the last album where it feels like the vocal performance, it feels like it's 2D singing.
Yeah.
Not Damon singing.
I would even argue that a lot of this does not track as 2D to me.
It's already begun.
Yeah.
It's already stopped being 2D.
For me, yes, I would say absolutely. Like, I think if you kind of squint, you kind of hear 2D in there. But for me, it's like the last time it's like really, really like the cartoons are playing the music is Demon Days. It's very obvious on that one.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
one, it's
this
like
is the beginning of the megaphone thing.
Yeah.
Da, 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 da.
Yeah. Which is kind of on some of the earlier ones too, but it's super pervasive.
Not like this though. Not like I'm a feature
of my own band.
Of my own band. Yeah, exactly. He sounds like a featured artist on someone else's hip hop track. But this is the transition because there's a mixture, right? This is where that begins, but there's still plenty of full voice Damon singing a full-on song that he wrote.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things that really stands out to me about the way that this album is produced, which is that how much of this album consists of songs that are made from sketches of songs. So, in fact, I feel most of them. A quote unquote normal album is a collection of fully written songs. That in the most traditional sense, they're songs that have intros and outros and verses and choruses and bridges, and each verse has different lyrics and so on and so forth, right? That, not saying that if it's not that, then it's not normal music. But that's on the most traditional end of the spectrum. But a lot of these songs, I feel it's pretty evident that essentially what he had and what he was working with was either a musical loop, like one musical loop, or like for example, the song "Broken."
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. That one does sound like it was an iPad sketch that was fleshed out by some of the best, most amazing production and vocalists.
Yeah. even like Stylo.
Yeah.
Right.
You're right.
How many of the songs have either one backing musical section or two, an A, B, A, B?
I would even say there's like a little bit of a production kind of giveaway, like a tell that you can hear that that what you're saying is like absolutely spot on. Like it's really obvious to me on the song Plastic Beach, the one that has Mick Jones and Paul Simonon on it from The Clash. Listen to the way that song ends. It sounds exactly the way like an Ableton looped track ends. Like it's just like the song is playing da 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 da. Like the way it ends,
Right.
it sounds like a session just stopping rather than like a band coming to a close, if that makes any sense. And a lot of stuff on here is like that.
They don't play a final chord. There's no outro. It's just loop, loop, loop up until the very last end of beat 4.
And then stop.
And there's no beat 1 because you don't have any of your little rectangular regions on your screen after that point. That's the end. That's where you put the little end marker.
Yeah.
And the other big tell for this is how much of the vocal parts, especially of the featured vocalists, are literally copied and pasted throughout the song.
Sure, yeah.
And it's not just repeated lyrics throughout the song. It's literally the performance is copied and pasted. It's not re-performed again.
Really?
So check it out. You have Stylo, where both Mos Def and Bobby Womack's parts are copied and pasted.
And just lifted throughout
the song. Superfast Jellyfish. The second verse is copy and pasted. It's the second half of the first verse, copied and pasted again.
Wow.
Of De La Soul's verse. Empire Ants.
Yeah.
When the second part of when Empire Ants comes in, Little Dragon's vocal part is copied and pasted, and it just happens twice in a row.
That one is really evident.
In Some Kind of Nature, Lou Reed's parts are copied and pasted to happen again in the second half of the song.
And those ones you can really tell he's getting in and doing some kind of Ableton magic. There's the endings of some of the Lou Reed vocal phrases that are just like it's honestly like one of the coolest production effects on the album. But
the rhythm of his performance is totally chopped up, and it's given a new cadence, a new rhythm. It's an overt stylistic thing. He's not attempting to hide that he did this. In fact, it's supposed to be perceived, and it sounds fucking dope.
Yeah, it does.
It sounds amazing.
It's really interesting to hear an artist that is kind of a, in my opinion, like genius level songwriter, like of our era, like a Tom York or somebody like that, who so clearly dove into like consumer grade level production styles like Ableton and GarageBand and stuff like that. Like who's doing the stuff we have access to and mastering it, even though he has access to Danger Mouse and Greg Kirsten and fucking all these people who he doesn't need to know how to do that. But it's so clear that it's become part of his workflow, is that he writes on GarageBand and he uses Ableton or whatever he uses.
And an iPad.
Yeah. And it make those like things he probably fell in love with in that workflow make it onto Plastic Beach. Like,
right. And how disheartening is that? It reminds me of when we were talking about Tame Impala, Currents, man. When you learn how he made it, he essentially made it with the exact same computer tools that we have. And it's like, fuck, dude.
Yeah.
And he did it by himself, just like how we do.
Yeah.
And
he came out with Currents.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And Damon Albarn.
This album is similar to that.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting too.
It's not quite the level of craftsmanship as Currents is, but it's beyond.
It's a different level. It's a different level though. It's a different level because while I would say that if you were to take how Damon Albarn crafts something on his iPad versus Kevin Parker, yes, Kevin Parker's way more sophisticated, but also Kevin Parker's not like going to like India and recording an orchestra and like fucking calling up all these other musicians, The Clash and all these other people. So it's really sophisticated in a way that Kevin Parker wouldn't do it, right? But yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just mean in terms of just like fidelity and just
sure.
the arrangement of everything on Currents, how every sound is just so like it's, you know, and you can hear it too when you listen to Cracker Island, and then the song with Tame Impala comes up.
Mm-hmm.
That level of lushness just steps up for a second. It's like, oh, okay, Kevin Parker clearly worked on this song.
Yeah,
and you can feel it. You know?
Yeah. And
Anyway.
they're really natural collaborators too, when you think about it.
Yeah.
Like Damon Albarn, what he was doing in Gorillaz, it just seems like an obvious setup for something like a Currents to come along and just kind of take that workflow and that idea and just level it up in its own way.
They're brothers of the ethereal falsetto.
Yeah, they are.
You know?
That sounds like a cult.
Welcome, we are the brothers of the ethereal falsetto.
Holy shit.
Well, they would be the ones to worship in that.
Yeah, they would.
For sure.
Yeah.
Okay, but I'm not even done. There's more.
Sure.
Broken, like I said, Broken does have a new vocal. That vocal doesn't repeat, but it is musically, it's A, B, song over.
Yeah.
And the only difference between A and B is that there's just new layers that are unmuted to make it the B section, and then you just mute those layers again, and it's the A section.
Yeah. More just like Ableton timeline.
More Ableton shit.
Trickery. Yeah.
Sweepstakes.
Ooh,
Most Def's vocal is copied and pasted multiple times. It happens like 4 times in that song. The same part again. And again, it's not reperformed. It's the exact same audio pasted again. He's sampling.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Pirate Jet. It's the same thing over and over. So
it's kind of every song.
It's almost every song. So and then this is the trippy part is I looked at, okay, so what are the exceptions to this? And there's not that many.
Yeah.
The exceptions are Rhinestone Eyes, On Melancholy Hill, To Binge, and Cloud of Unknowing.
What about the Snoop Dogg track? That's got to be copy pasted some of it too, or no?
Okay, no, you're right. So when you bring in the hip hop, the Snoop Dogg track, Welcome to the Plastic Beach, and also White Flag, are it's just one long part all the way through that doesn't repeat. So okay, so that's like 6 songs.
It makes sense too with the hip hop tracks that it wouldn't be like that, because it kind of you would be robbing what makes hip hop and rap and like having a rapper on your track so exciting. Yeah. If you were to copy paste on a
but
song,
that's what he does on Sweepstakes. That's what he does on Stylo.
That's
what he does on Superfast Jellyfish.
On Superfast Jellyfish, I get it because it's like a concept thing. He's like, that is a really cartoony. That is a very Gorillaz-y cartoony song.
Superfast Jellyfish sounds like it could be from the first Gorillaz album.
It does, yeah,
totally.
Yeah, I love it.
It's great, and it totally fits. And I'm not bringing this up to say that this is bad, by the way.
No, it's just how they produced it. It's just a way to achieve Plastic Beach.
It's just an insight on how this album was made that it didn't really stand out to me that much before.
Yeah.
But it's trippy how those exceptions, if you count Snoop Dogg and White Flag, that's 6 songs, right? That are just full blown. Nothing repeats. It's a song, quote unquote. That's 6 tracks out of 16. And this album doesn't really feel that way.
If you hadn't pointed that out, I never would have picked up on that. Like that, and that's the testament to how well the album's performed and produced, really, is I never would have. It is a really interesting insight. And I think what it does is it adds it actually, by copy and pasting, weirdly, it adds like a level of performance consistency and polish on the songs, a sheen of plastic, if you will, that really kind of makes the album flow easier, sound kind of more produced and professional and like kind of easier on the ears, I guess. It sounds less like wild and it sounds more like perfect, molded, if you will, like plastic. I'm being really ham-fisted with my plastic metaphors now.
Yeah, for some reason the word plastic is in my mind. I don't know
plastic
why.
comes to mind.
Yeah.
But in a good way, though. In a cool way.
Yes, because it's thematically coherent.
It is, yeah.
Unlike Avatar. No.
Joke, you.
But seriously.
I can't believe you just did that.
But seriously.
Whatever. There's nothing we're not doing that.
That is why
we're not talking about
Plastic
Avatar.
Beach is good in a way that Avatar is not. The other thing about the production of this album that I wanted to talk about, and I've wanted to talk about this for a long time, because one of my favorite parts musically about Gorillaz has always been Damon Albarn's keyboard parts.
Oh.
The way that this man plays a synthesizer.
Yeah, it's not entirely clear, I guess, for a novice listener, is like, okay, what is Damon Albarn doing on this stuff?
Yeah, right.
What does he play?
So he's primarily a keyboard player, right? And
yeah, I guess live he didn't really play guitar ever. He had a cool Rhodes. That was like his thing. He just sat behind his like pink rhinestone encrusted Rhodes piano, which was really dope.
And it's interesting because you so rarely hear how good of a keyboard player he really is, because the lion's share of his parts that he puts on Gorillaz albums are so stripped down, and like his playing is not groundbreaking or in any way. His parts are actually very, very basic and just kind of hanging out in generally a very normal major minor key thing. But what he has is the ear. He has that gift that whatever it is, you got it, man, of being able to pick out of the air just the most perfect little bing bong 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 melody that is gonna set this thing off. He finds it.
What he's doing, I think, is he's not a virtuosic musician, or he's not using musical instruments in a virtuosic way necessarily. He's using musical instruments as a tool, like a good producer does, right?
Yeah.
He knows how to do this, he knows how to do that, and he's using them as like a means to an end, which is to craft a good production of a track, right? It's not like to show off or to like do this or that or whatever. His instrument is the production. That is his instrument.
Probably the best example, or at least the most prominent example of what I'm talking about, is the synth line when the beat drops in Dirty Harry.
Oh yeah, yeah.
From Demon Days, the bum bum ba dum bum ba dum bum.
Yep.
Dude, when that song came out, I was like fucking obsessed with that. I would run that song back over and over and over and over just to enjoy the sound of that synth line.
It's so good.
It's what the notes are, where they're sitting, and the timbre of the synth patch that he's dialed in is so pleasing and so perfect and just right in there, right in the pocket.
Yeah.
And he does that over and over and over again. On Demon Days, he does it like 10 times. And on Plastic Beach, he does it again. And the cool part, though, about Plastic Beach is there's little nuggets of that are kind of more hidden in the wings of the songs and kind of in the background of the tapestry of the songs. And they're not always super prominent, right? A lot of times they are super prominent, like that bridge melody in To Binge. Bing bum bing, bing bum bing bam bum, bing bum bing, bing bum bing bam bum. And on Melancholy Hill, do dee do dee do dee do do dee. How strong is that? That shit is 3 notes.
You're right. He has like a very kind of Beatles-esque taste when it comes to just like plucking melodies out of the air and they're, yeah, you're right. They're really, really basic and simple, but it's like
super basic.
That's exactly what kind of it should be. It doesn't need to blow you out of the water. It just needs to be memorable and tasteful, you know?
Yeah. And it's really interesting because so much of this times they sound like keyboard lines that a non-keyboard player would lay down.
Yeah.
You know, like, all right, guys, just everyone in the studio, like, all right, guys, we need like a little synth line here. But everyone who's in the studio at that moment, they're all singers, drummers, guitar players, and like happens so often in the studio we're going to put down a synth part. Okay, who? Oh, I got an idea. But none of us are first and foremost keyboard players.
Right.
As it you and I, we play all the keyboards on our music, and neither one of us we're just de facto. We can manage to get something out on a keyboard, but we are not keyboard players.
Yeah,
neither one of us, right?
It makes me feel like I try way too hard in my music, honestly. Like you don't have to try that hard.
But this is what's so fascinating about Damon to me is that so many of his parts sound like what a non-keyboard player would come up with, but he is a keyboard player.
And he's a great keyboard player.
And so those two worlds collide where it's like a person with the knowledge, like how they say, learn the rules and then throw them away.
Mm-hmm.
Like someone with the knowledge who has the confidence to take such a
like a beginner's approach to like
beginner's approach,
melody,
beginner's mind.
Yeah. But I think that's a hallmark of a great musician, is to know what notes not to play and know that actually holding back, like, is the sophisticated choice, is the smart choice. Simplicity can be kind of the key to greatness, rather than like trying to blow someone out of the water or something like that, you know?
Yeah, it doesn't always have to be something. It doesn't always have to be Mozart and some like super sophisticated thing.
Right.
Like listen back to Stylo in the little portion where it's like building up. I guess you'd call it like the pre-chorus or something of Stylo. There's a synth part in the back that he's just ascending up the scale. Just da 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 da. That's
it's
it.
super satisfying.
That's it. That's what I would come up with.
Right.
I don't play keys. You know what I mean?
Right.
Anyway.
Yeah.
That part really stood out to me this time. Standout Songs.
Standing out on the plastic beach picking songs is what we're doing. I think
the last 2 times at least you have cruelly
correctly gone first. Is that what you're about to say?
No, you forced me to go first.
Oh, okay.
Forced me.
I have 3.
Nice.
I think, honestly, once you hear my standouts, it should come as no surprise the ones that I really latched onto. My favorite aspect of Gorillaz is something we touched on earlier in the episode, is the way he has like I hate that we always bring up Tarantino, and I'm wearing my dorky Death Proof shirt right now.
We talk about Tarantino a lot.
We do, actually. But
I don't know why. We like other movies
we
too.
Do.
Yeah.
In a very Tarantino-esque way, Damon Albarn has this amazing ability to kind of pluck former greats out of relative obscurity and represent them and recontextualize them in a new way that helps remind you why we loved them in the first place and how great they still are. They just aren't being given, despite their stature in the industry, they aren't being given the opportunity and the platform to kind of spread their wings and express their greatness anymore.
And to do something fresh in the current age.
It's
right?
So cool.
Because we're not getting Bobby Womack to sing 70s soul again.
No,
he's having Bobby Womack sing some very 2010 music.
Yes.
In 2010.
And it's seamless. It's like perfect.
It's like having Travolta not do what Travolta has ever done, but do a very 94 thing.
Yeah. It's like a movie executive in 1991 would be like, well, we're not going to use Travolta because we're not making another disco movie. It's 1991. Why would we? Yeah. We don't need to make any more disco movies. And someone with, the film aptitude of a Tarantino can see like, you are like missing the forest through the trees, dude. Like, he's a great performer. He's a great actor.
And he still is.
He still is.
Right.
Like, you're wasting the potential.
You feel that when he gets Bobby Womack in this. It's like, am I the only one who realizes this guy's still alive?
Yeah,
His heart
yeah.
is still beating. He's
Right.
still an amazing
Right.
musician.
And
you know?
I'm not even talking about Bobby Womack right now, although you're
Okay.
completely right. My first standout song is Some Kind of Nature.
Nice.
The Lou Reed
Yeah.
song.
Nice.
Man, Velvet Underground, Lou Reed probably changed my life the first time. The first time I heard Velvet Underground and Nico changed my life, changed my perspective on music. Lou Reed is from an American songwriter standpoint, he is just one of the most important songwriters that we have, like, and one of the most unique voices, the most unique perspectives, one of the most like original New Yorkers, like just really like imbued with the spirit of New York City, and just honestly, like Lou Reed should be on our money. Like that's how strongly I feel about how fucking cool of an artist Lou Reed is. And by 2010, I couldn't even tell you what Lou Reed was up to at this point. I have no idea. I don't think he was doing much of anything. Maybe he was playing shows. I don't really know. I mean, by like the early 90s even, like Lou Reed was I'm sure he put out a bunch more music. I don't even know. But like he was this great talent that either kind of was intentionally or pushed himself to the background, or just wasn't as interested, or just more likely it was just the music industry didn't know what to do with him anymore. So by 2010, like
people were like, who is Lou Reed?
Who's Lou Reed? And like
when this came out.
And like Lou Reed like sucks, or like Lou Reed is like not good. Like I remember when Lou Reed was still alive, people would like groan when like Lou Reed was brought up as like doing something new. It was like, oh my God, like this fucking guy, you know what I mean? And it's like the disrespect in his later years. I think a lot of that due to the Metallica Lulu collaboration thing, which was insane.
Oh, I forgot about that.
It was insane and like really stupid, but like
I forgot about that.
So like there was a lot of people who just would kind of groan when he was brought up by the end of his life. But like, dude, I remember when I was taking a class with Susan Rogers, who is Prince's producer. I took a class with her at Berkeley when I was going there. And I was in her class the day that the entire class got a notification on their phones, or that it was like on the internet that morning that Lou Reed had passed away. And that was like in 2013 or 14. And I remember she asked everybody, Susan Rogers said, okay, we're not going to do class today. We're just going to talk about Lou Reed. Let's talk about who's got thoughts and feelings on Lou Reed. And I was the only person in the class who raised my hand and was like, I love Lou Reed.
Everyone else was like
I'm having a bad day now. You know what I mean? And so she was so cool, because what she did was her and I just talked about Lou Reed.
While everyone else just sat there.
Yeah, that was like the class. It was a really unique, amazing experience. But so anyway, some kind of nature. Holy crap! The reason I love it so much is it really, I don't know if Lou Reed wrote it or if Damon wrote it, but it sounds like a Lou Reed song. It sounds like something off of an early Velvet Underground album. The composition, the way the piano parts played, it really sounds like Damon Albarn trying to write for Lou Reed.
Oh, interesting.
You know what I mean? Trying to do his best.
I tell you, I am one of those people in your class where I don't know enough about his style. I don't know enough about Velvet Underground and his other music to even be able to pick up on that.
Yeah. Well,
so I did not know that.
It's the way the piano is composed in the song. It's like this kind of this eighth notes kind of pressing ding ding ding. That's a very Lou Reed move. Okay. It's like a very kind of amateurish kind of chugging along of the piano. It's a very Velvet Underground move to do something like that. So to me, it automatically tracks as like either Lou Reed wrote this, or it's like Damon Albarn writing for Lou Reed in a way that he knows Lou Reed would be like very conducive for this track, right? I actually don't know who wrote it. I wonder if they came up with it together. But what I'm getting at is that it's like a seamless marriage of the classic Lou Reed songwriting style that is just this effortless cool, married with the cartoon Gorillaz, like modern pop sensibility, and like the way that he breaks up the vocals that we talked about. It's this amazing way to recontextualize Lou Reed and his songwriting style. And it's probably, I didn't put it in my favorite best, even though it might be my favorite on the album. It's really hard to say.
So almost favorite.
Almost favorite.
Yeah.
Almost favorite, but I feel like I would just be being a little too much of like a homer by picking the Lou Reed song. So yeah, some long-winded, some kind of nature is like, God, that I didn't even know Lou Reed was on this. I like forgot about that. And so when he started singing, I was like, like I was so pleased.
Yeah. Some kind of nature is also in my standouts.
Nice.
What I wrote in my notes is the most bizarre, catchy song ever.
Yes.
Question mark.
Yes.
The song is fucking bizarre. When you really just like sit down and listen to it, like if you're like an alien studying an object or something, this song is fucking weird.
It's really strange. Yeah.
And it hits my brain in exactly the same way that a straight ahead pop song that I like does.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't really know how or why, but goddamn, it's so Gorillaz. It just comes across it fits in that it's the same way that songs from like the first album really hit, where it's like when you really just like set it out on the table and look at it and just deconstruct all the parts of it, it's like, what the fuck is this? Who makes a song like this?
I think it's Lou Reed,
but it's so
man.
pleasing.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that always was something that I wondered. I was like, I wonder how similar this is to Lou Reed's other work.
Super similar.
And I just don't know it.
Super similar to early Velvet's stuff.
There you go.
And to a less extent, like Transformer era Lou Reed, but like, yeah, it just sounds like something off White Light, White Heat, or fucking any of the early Velvet Underground records. It's amazing.
Well, they're both credited as writers.
Okay.
On the song.
That makes sense, man.
But I mean,
who knows?
You know, like we've talked about on the show before, we probably will again, like who is listed as a writer in this American music industry and Western music industry is not always a super reliable source of information of who did what actually.
I think the song and the composition is sophisticated enough that it makes me believe that, like what I said is it's Lou Reed writing it's Damon Albarn writing for Lou Reed. Lou Reed correctly being like, this is great. I love it because it sounds like something I would do. and probably Lou Reed contributing a lot of lyrics and stuff like that. In fact, I would say entirely probably Lou Reed contributing lyrics because they're really brilliant.
What this sounds like to me is like one where Lou Reed recorded remotely on this.
Sure. Yeah.
Where there's some temp version of the song, possibly even a different piece of music entirely, that Damon sent to him wherever he is, New York City or wherever. He recorded it in his own means, whatever studio he went to or has to do it.
And then Damon manipulated
sent it back, and Damon manipulated it.
Yeah, I agree.
And why I say that is, so not only, yes, the chopped up parts, but that's not the conclusive, because as we know, he also did that exact same chopping up of many other parts. Well, he didn't chop up and restructure the cadence and the rhythm of their lines, the other performers who recorded in person with him, but he did copy and paste their shit.
Yeah.
But also too, I don't know, there's something about the timbre of the recording.
Yeah.
Of Lou Reed's voice specifically.
It's different.
Has a different quality than all the other vocal recordings on this album.
And I will say there's a great, like about 30-40 minute documentary about the making of Plastic Beach that I watched. And it's all just like fly on the wall, like studio footage of this time period. And it's like you see them recording in person with basically every single collaborator on the album except Lou Reed.
Except Lou Reed. I knew it.
He's not featured. So
stick with the kid, baby.
I think
Told
you're
you.
I think you're right. I think you're absolutely spot on that this was like Lou Reed was like a curmudgeon-y kind of prickly guy. And he probably was like, whatever, what's your fucking dumb cartoon band? Sure, I'll do this. Oh, this is kind of a cool song. All right, I'll do it.
And he may be,
and he
by the way, just real quick, it gets tiring being so right all the time. But anyway, he could also be, so a lot of artists who used to be huge and have sort of like are in a more obscure, older point in their life, a lot of them will do a thing which is basically like a feature for money.
Sure.
You know, like George Clinton is I think we may have talked about this in when we did the Parliament episode. How George Clinton, for years before he passed away.
Shocked George Clinton isn't. He's not even dead yet. You didn't know he's not dead?
He's not.
He's not dead.
Wait, George Clinton is still alive?
Yeah, dude. Parliament Funkadelic is touring next year. I want to go.
I'm googling this guy.
Speaking of people, I'm shocked isn't involved with Gorillaz.
Damn, dude, George Clinton is still alive. Okay, well, it's so tiring being right all the time, man.
Except you were very wrong about George Clinton being dead.
Exactly. But just keep that in. But so he still does this, where literally you just like send him $300. And a backing track.
Are you serious? Why don't we get George Clinton for one of our songs?
He'll just like poop some vocals on it.
Let's get him. Let's have him poop some vocals on Black Market Dub then. Why not? Let's do it. Man. We got the budget.
There was some because I mixed a track for a friend of mine that has George Clinton on it, and that's how I know this. He's like, yeah, he has an email. You just send him some money and send him a track, and he sends it back to you.
I'm feeling extremely inspired about the next Black Market Dub project right now.
George Clinton. But it made me realize, what song was it? There's around that same exact time. Oh, no. It was Kendrick Lamar. He's in like the first track on To Pimp a Butterfly.
Yeah.
There's George Clinton. And I noticed how he uses a lot of the same little lyrical concepts in the Kendrick song as he did in my friend's song, and it totally like ruined the effect of the Kendrick's track, where it's like, dude, he got George Clinton to come out of obscurity. Whoa, this is fucking dope. And I knew how the sausage is made. I'm like, no, this is actually not that cool.
Yeah,
this is just, he probably didn't even realize that Kendrick is any more notable than any of the other fucking people who were just sending him songs all day.
Yeah, ironically, probably one of the more minor hurdles of To Pimp a Butterfly.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Getting George Clinton.
So the reason why I bring that up is Lou Reed may have been doing a similar kind of a thing during this time.
Probably.
And maybe Damon is just one of the people who he took advantage of. And Lou Reed may never have realized that this one is any more significant than the other ones that I've been doing.
Who knows?
You know?
I'm inclined to kind of agree with you, though, because one of the things on the Mountain is they reuse a bunch of unused stuff from all their like collaborators who have passed away since doing Gorillaz collaborations. And they apparently had an idea to use some unused Lou Reed recordings, and they asked the Lou Reed estate, and the Lou Reed estate just flatly denied.
Said no.
No. So
he's the only one that is missing from the Mountain.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Of all
Interesting. Maybe Lou Reed, I think his estate is rightfully as prickly as he was in life, as he is in death. So it's probably very fitting. Anyway, so that
other standout.
Next, just like very Nate, like favorite collaborators ever, is this on the song Plastic Beach. So the song Plastic Beach, where they Damon Albarn manages to again get some music legends to come out of retirement to perform on this, being half of the Clash, right? So you have Mick Jones and Paul Simonon of the Clash playing guitar and bass on a track together, probably for the first time since The Clash, I would think. Maybe
Wow.
I don't think Paul Simonon was like involved in Big Audio Dynamite at all. I don't think he was involved in any Joe Strummer stuff later on. He really kind of just did his own thing, or I don't really know what he was up to post Clash. But Paul Simonon was in the other Damon Albarn like super group, The Good, the Bad, and the Queen, which was Damon Albarn, Paul Simonon, and Tony Allen, and I think maybe someone else. I forget who the other big player in it was, but it was definitely Tony Allen, who's just an incredible drummer, and then Paul Simonon and Damon Albarn, which is like one of the coolest super groups ever. Yeah, I love Plastic Beach a lot, the song. It's amazing, especially the Paul Simonon bass line. It's this very satisfying, like kind of reggae-esque bass line, which we haven't even talked about how kind of imbued the Gorillaz are with reggae, which is super satisfying for us.
Yeah. I mean, going back to when we were talking about how in these first, well, especially the first two albums, it really sounded like the cartoon characters are the band. And a big part of that is that Russell, the drummer, is from primarily a hip hop drummer. And you really hear that in the music. And that Murdoch, the bass player, is like a dub influenced bass player. So especially, the dub bass lines are all over the first two albums, and so the song Plastic Beach and also like Pirate Jet, there's like a little bit more of that like
kind of
the reggae stuff coming back
influence. Yeah, and it's a cool way that they threaded in by using Paul Simonon, because Paul Simonon, being a member of The Clash were kind of one of the early adopters of the punk and reggae thing, marriage in the UK during the punk scene, and when the punks and Rastas kind of came together. The Clash were like huge advocates for like Rastas and Jamaican music and all that stuff, and they incorporated it into their music. So they were like genuine fans and lovers of reggae music, and it just kind of became part of like his bass playing style. Mick Jones less so, like was less of, I think, like a probably reggae purist when it came to like performing. Like he was just a punk rock guitar player that just played upstrokes with a distorted guitar. But
who was in a band where his friends like reggae.
Yeah, I think so. But Paul Simonon seemed to like kind of genuinely embrace that style, and it comes out in his playing. But yeah, it's kind of one of my favorite parts about Plastic Beach, the song, is that it has this really good Paul Simonon bass part where it kind of drops in and out strategically in a way that like I wouldn't do it, but it sounds so Paul Simonon. And it also has that
ding 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 ding. Ding, 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 ding,
yeah.
Ding, ding.
Yeah.
It's very dope. Like the muted strings.
Yeah. It's him playing kind of a punk reggae bass part with a pick on a P bass, and it's just very
like palm muted with a pick.
It's just dope. Very Paul Simonon. It's amazing. And Mick Jones too. It's crazy. He's playing that telly kind of distorted, really wet kind of guitar part that is really evident in the intro, and then it's hard to like pick out what he's doing in the rest of the song.
It's a cool trick that I had never seen anybody do it, and it's so simple and so genius. So that sound in the beginning of the song, just like the washy chords that are in the background, all that is here, I got it.
That's it. You're nailing it.
The beginning of Plastic Beach. It's a cool little trick that they do. I don't think I've ever seen anybody else do it.
Yeah.
But it's so simple.
Yeah.
And it's friggin' genius. I don't know why anybody else doesn't do it. But essentially what it is the chords in the very beginning of the song, that's just the guitar being strummed really fast. And what we're hearing is only the wet signal of the reverb that the guitar is going into. So what he's actually playing is he's just strumming the guitar really fast. That's what he's actually doing. So when you're in the room with him, that's what you hear. But then you put some reverb on it. Because normally when you put reverb on a guitar or on anything else, there's what's called the wet and dry mix. The dry is the actual original signal, and the wet is the sound of the effect, in this case, the reverb. So you normally blend it in like that, where you can still hear the dry signal fully, and then there's a little bit of reverb behind it.
Yeah.
But they turn it all the way up so that it's 100% wet. And I'm going to mute my microphone so that you don't hear the pick hitting the strings. But all wet, it sounds like this. And it just turns into this like
wash
pad effect, a wash.
Yeah. Pad is a good descriptor.
It's so simple.
Yeah.
But I've never seen anybody else do that.
And it's a very punk rock kind of move on guitar, is just do a wall of guitar sound. You know what I mean? It's like,
let me just strum it really hard, really fast.
Yeah.
How about that?
Exactly. But you know what? It's like, he's pulling, Damon Albarn is pulling these ideas, techniques from all these cool eras of music, and he's recontextualizing these ideas and these techniques from all these greats and blending them together in a way that he gets to like appropriate all this genius into his project, which is like it's
collaboration, baby.
Collaboration, yeah.
And the Gorillaz project really brings the collaboration to the forefront. That like,
I think that's the point of the project, frankly.
Yeah, right. Like it is the aspect of the music that's on the marquee and that is being marketed. But I mean, the truth is, like, there's not very much less collaboration that goes on in the making of pretty much all other music. You know, these types of moments are really normal. It's just, this is a project where that's the point of the project. You know what I mean?
Right. And the people he's collaborating with are like these AAA marquee names that
and very eclectic also. Coming
from
from lots of way disparate backgrounds and stuff. That's pretty unique.
Totally. Yeah. I will say, just so we can get into your standouts, which I really struggled picking a third one, because there's so many good ones. I will say, before we get into favorite best, it is essentially impossible to do this game of standouts and favorite best, because like the whole album, there is no weak points really. I will say,
none of the songs are you like skip?
There's one
skipper.
I'll get to that in my hot takes.
I have two skippers.
Okay. I will say my other standout, I don't have a ton to say about it other than that it is a standout for me, is White Flag. I just love. I think as far as all the hip hop tracks go, that one is just so fun. It's just a banger. And the way that it incorporates kind of the orchestral stuff in it is really cool, which we haven't even really touched on, is like all the orchestral moments in the album. That I will say, the one thing I'll say about that I think the Mountain does a lot better is it feels like the orchestral stuff was like it felt like that was going to be like a foundational element of Plastic Beach that was supposed to be woven throughout the entire album. And really it's like the first quarter of it that is true, and then throughout the rest of the album it's almost like they kind of like left that idea behind a little bit.
It only comes back for Cloud of Unknowing.
And
that's kind of it.
And that's kind of it. And so it kind of feels like a half-formed idea that they kind of leave behind at a certain point. Not really complaining, but I do think that the Mountain just does that way better, where it just that all the ideas they had for how the music would weave in and out, it is like cohesive throughout the whole album. But yeah, I would say White Flag. I could have easily picked Super Fast Jellyfish. I could have easily picked Pirate Jet to binge. I could have picked On Melancholy Hill. I could have picked any other song to be standouts. But anyway, loved White Flag. Really cool way to do the hip hop thing, the Gorillaz production, and the orchestral stuff all in one track.
Yes. White Flag is also one of my standouts.
Oh, nice. I can't believe we have two of the same standouts. That's interesting.
Which it makes me realize too, since we're talking about the structure of it,
Mm-hmm.
it makes me realize I have to take that off the list of what we said were the 6 songs that are not like copy paste things. Because White Flag is. Because it's the exact same symphonic performance in the beginning, copied and pasted at the end.
Interesting.
This is a very Gorillaz structure, very in the same kind of aesthetic or ethos or whatever the fuck you want to call it that was established in the first album, where we're going to have something symphonic, but we're going to put a hip hop beat over it. In this case, grime beat, which I love this too, because this was my introduction to the style of grime, right?
Which is like a UK hip hop kind of thing.
It's so dope.
Yeah, it is. That is my favorite part of the song too. I'm not familiar with the two performers on it, but they're amazing. Like
Bashy and Kano.
Yeah,
it's so dope. You're right. How their verses like interweave with each other, where like it's clear that they both wrote it. Like this is written by 2 people, but how much their parts like hinge on each other and interplay with each other. Like it's a very cool moment of collaboration between 2 people where like we have to sit down and write it. We have to write our parts together.
Yeah. And they perform it together. Yeah.
Yeah. It's so cool.
And it even sounds, it has that really live hip hop feel to it where it sounds like they're holding like a 58, right? Like it sounds live in the best way that you want like hip hop to sound. Like it feels like a live performance in a lot of ways.
Yeah. That's something that I've been getting into a lot lately is because you learn. When you learn to record music, you learn that, the proper way to do it is with a large diaphragm, is to record vocals with a large diaphragm condenser microphone, and ideally in a vocal booth or of some sort.
Yeah.
But when you really look across time of some of the great recordings that have happened, it's amazing how often some keeper vocals of some prominent records were recorded with a handheld dynamic microphone, like a SM58.
Maybe with live monitors, like live speakers, playback, like in the room. Yeah.
Right. Or in an environment where you're quote unquote not supposed to record vocals. And people get some very viable and very inspired sounding vocal tracks that can't be accomplished. They won't sound like that if you record them the conventional way.
Man, I have a short, I won't tell it for too long, but a short story that corroborates everything you're saying. Like probably my single favorite day when I worked at Capitol was a day when Neil Young came in and he booked both live rooms, Studio A and Studio B, and there was a retractable wall between Studio A and B.
Oh shit, I didn't know that.
Yeah, that you could collapse, and then there was a glass wall you could put up or retract. So you could have a single live room that was all of the floor space of Studio A and the booths and all of the floor space of Studio B, right? Because they were right next door to each other. And so there was a day where Neil Young came in and he booked out both rooms at once. And he had Neil Young and The Promise of the Real in Studio A. And then probably, I don't know, it was a 50 to 75, 100 piece orchestra. I'm not exaggerating. It was like 100 people. It was a full orchestra that spread out throughout the rest of Studio A and all of Studio B, right? And he was standing in the middle of both rooms, singing, playing guitar, with a full orchestra. And the way he sang was he had a live monitor, like a stage monitor, in the middle of the room with bleed everywhere on like 100 microphones, and he sang into a 58. That's how that's and
that was the final
and that
track.
was the final vocal, was a 58 with all of that. Probably a single day of recording with 100 musicians that are all union scale, probably $100,000. I don't even know how much that must have cost at Capitol. And like he sang,
how did that sound?
It was awesome. It sounded like fucking Neil Young. It sounded like Neil Young. It was so sick. I forget the name of the tune, but it was from like, I don't know, 2017 or 18. There's footage of that day on YouTube of that actual session. And it was amazing and super unconventional, but it was like, it is the sound of Neil Young, is him not singing into this like pristine microphone thing.
And I think that's what I've been learning or realizing lately, is that that's not the conventional way to do it, but I've been realizing that doing it that way is more conventional than I realized.
It is,
like, it happens more often than you would think.
Yeah.
You don't just sort of assume that all these vocals that I'm hearing when I listen to music, these were all recorded in vocal booths, weren't they?
Yeah.
And
I think even like Anthony Kiedis always records with a handheld thing. I think I remember reading that somewhere, but yeah.
And we brought up Rage Against the Machine. I'm pretty sure that's the normal way that Zach De La Rocha recorded all those songs. It's just with a 58 in his hand.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Why not? But anyway, how about, so we had 2 overlapping standouts. Do you have a third standout that is not one of mine that I picked?
Yeah, I got 2 standouts that we haven't talked about.
Okay.
One is Superfast Jellyfish.
I could have easily picked that one instead of White Flag. Like, it's so interchangeable to me.
It's so dope.
Yeah.
I remember
I think the most Gorillaz-y song on the whole album is Superfast Jellyfish. Maybe because it's De La Soul, I don't know. Maybe, but like, if it's the one that feels the most cartoony,
classic. Yeah, right. It feels like a cartoon band. It's the one that belongs the most on the first record. You know, that really originated and established the vibe. And White Flag is too, but White Flag is more of like a progression of it. An evolution of that vibe. And Superfast Jellyfish is just, hey, you like Gorillaz? Here you go.
Yeah.
And just the melodies that are going on in the chorus, man. I remember when Plastic Beach came out, I was spending a lot of time hanging out with my neighbors who were from New York, one of whom is a fantastic songwriter, Ian McGuinness. He didn't like Gorillaz really. It just didn't vibe with it. He has different sensibilities. But when Superfast Jellyfish came on, he like stopped and he looked over. He's like, now that is a pop song.
Totally.
That's how you write a pop melody, dude.
It's
like,
true.
That's fucking genius.
It's true. And it's interesting because when you like in that Plastic Beach documentary, they go into, there's like little snippets where you can kind of hear their concept behind the song. And it's like Damon Albarn, the idea was like, okay, in the world of Plastic Beach, there would still be commercials and cartoons and advertisements, and they would be like undersea, under the water types of products of cereal or whatever. So it's like, so like him and De La Soul, their idea was like, what if we wrote like a jingle for cereal, for like a cereal company
in the comic book world
that's from the cartoon universe. And so that's what that is. That kind of Saturday morning cartoon melody, kind of vibe.
Super fast.
Yeah. It's them.
Oh my God.
It's a commercial for a jellyfish cereal from the universe.
This is another good example of how like so often Damon Albarn's lyrics are and his actual performance of the lyrics are so unintelligible to me.
Sure.
That so many of his songs, I sing along to them, but I only know them phonetically. You know, it's as
Yeah.
though I'm a person who doesn't speak English and
I
I'm
know.
singing along to Michael Jackson
I know
type thing.
exactly what you mean.
You know, keep it swoo, forever blue. Like what? I still, for 16 years, I've been listening to this, and I just got done studying this album for 4 months, and I have no fucking idea what he's saying
Yeah, I get
on
what you mean.
so many of these lines.
You're right.
But I just sing along.
Yeah.
You know, it's so funny.
Yeah, I even feel that way about On Melancholy Hill. Like you were saying something about what it's about, and I was like, what?
What?
Like, okay, if you say so.
Yeah. And then the last standout that I have is Empire Ants.
Love Empire Ants, dude.
This is a really cool one in many ways, but
who is Little Dragon? Who is she? Because she's amazing.
Yeah,
she's so good.
So Little Dragon is a band,
Okay.
a group, and this is a rare occasion where Damon Albarn is collaborating with the entire group.
Mm-hmm.
So this is pretty much the only song where there's like prominent like keyboard parts and instrumentation that is played by other people besides him. I think this might be the only song that has that. So Little Dragon has a couple like keyboard players and drum programmer, instrumental people, and then the singer whose name I can't remember, but they're from Sweden, I think.
It makes me feel like, did they do work on Stylo? Because it just, that same kind of bass sound is like on Stylo in a way that it sounds like a really natural kind of progression from Stylo, weirdly.
I don't think so. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that Stylo was produced just by Damon. But anyway, this song, there's lots of cool stuff that I like about it. First of all, the beginning of it is, I feel that this album is really influenced by the album Skylarking by Ecstasy. Are you familiar with that album?
I just bought an XTC album, like a couple of days ago, actually.
Which one?
It's like the Oranges and something. It's like later 80s. I'm not super familiar with it.
Oh, yeah.
I just grabbed it.
But Skylarking is also a concept album, and it's about the seasons. Right? Like spring, summer, fall, winter.
Mm-hmm.
And the beginning of Empire Ants is, I can really hear the influences from Skylarking and the way that it portrays like the green, the polyphonic prairies here, it's all around you. You can just like hear like the flowers and the blades of grass and shit.
Yeah. And then the progression from that into just like this heavy bass line.
Dude, so
God, this is such a good pick for Standout. I'm jealous you got to this one, but this is a great pick. You're so right
all the time. Tired of being right all the time.
All right.
But
I'll take back what I said.
but it does a cool thing which I like, which is, so for these concept albums like this, one of the things that's always got to happen and is present on pretty much all of them is that there's like a chapter switch, right? A transition where it goes like from the light portion to the dark portion of the album or something like that.
Sure.
But it's normally done, the border between those is normally in between songs, or there's some kind of interstitial or intermission something.
Or a skit or something stupid.
Yeah.
Yeah, something we would do.
Right, that's what we would do. On Plastic Beach, it happens in the middle of a song.
Right.
Empire Ants, it is the song where it transitions from the first half to the second half of the album.
Interesting.
Right?
Yeah. And it is kind of right at the halfway point too.
Yeah.
Track 7 of 16. Yeah.
You hear that little synth thing come in first.
Yeah.
And before the beat drops, and oh my God, this song is so satisfying.
Yeah. I love too, and this is kind of a general production note rather than something specific to this song, but it does apply to this song, is the way that this like a really popular trend in kind of later new like modern pop music right now is this kind of retro 80s thing.
Yeah.
Whenever it comes to synthesizers, and that is
so hot right now.
So hot right now. And that is one of the things about Cracker Island that kind of bugs me a little bit is it's kind of using that retro 80s sensibility as a little bit of a production crutch for me to a degree that it's just like it's too common for me. Like it's just everybody's doing that and it just sounds like Gorillaz are doing it too, right? And this album kind of like it predates
like the Stevie Nicks song is totally in that. Yeah.
And this album kind of predates that trend. Like it was kind of before that was like a trendy thing.
This was not a thing in 2010. Yeah. The vibes, the tones that are in here when this shit drops in 2010, this was like, what the fuck?
Yeah, really, it's before Stranger Things is really what it is. So it's like before everyone was like, remember we had bicycles? Yeah. Like it was before that trend.
Yes.
But I really like that he's able to use so many kind of 80s textures without it sounding like an 80s retro nostalgia ripoff type thing.
Yeah, right. It doesn't sound retro.
No, that so many
futuristic.
Yeah, that I think so many artists they're trying to do this like 80s retro thing, and even Cracker Island does that for me a little bit.
I mean, I think they're accomplishing it.
It's cool.
I like it.
I do too.
I think it sounds good. It doesn't sound fresh. It doesn't sound cutting edge.
Yeah.
I feel that all these pop singles that come out now in 2025, 2026, I like them all, but they are pushing no boundaries.
No,
whatsoever. They all sound like they could have come out at any point in the past 20, 30 years. And
that's my biggest complaint with everything.
I like it though. But
everything
whatever.
From Humans up to the Mountain. That is my problem with all the Gorillaz output is that it all just kind of sounds like this could have come out at any point in the last 10 years. And like, it doesn't, Cracker Island is the best of that stuff. I agree with you, but,
because the songwriting is back.
Yeah.
The songwriting was missing from Humans and now and
and not the Mountain. And
he's actually singing again.
Yeah.
And it feels like he's 2D again to me. On Cracker Island, I feel like I'm listening to 2D things. Favorite, best.
Mine is very simple. My favorite and best. I struggled with this. I will say this was the hardest album we've done yet when it came to picking standouts and favorite best, because to me this is like it's essentially like a perfect record. Like there's and here's the weird thing about Plastic Beach is none of the songs for me.
Before we're done, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Before we're done, you got to tell me what your skipper song is though.
That's kind of my hot take. Should we get our hot take?
No. Okay, save it.
It's my hot take.
All right.
I will say the one thing about Plastic Beach is this might be a hot take too. I think none of the songs reach the same heights as a Clint Eastwood or a Dirty Harry or whatever. Those are like
Feel Good Inc.
Those are like just S tier Gorillaz. I think there isn't any song on this album that reaches that level. That being said, all of the songs on this album are overall on average a higher quality than all the songs on the first one, for example.
The Waterline is higher. I definitely agree that the Waterline is higher than Demon Days.
Yes.
I agree. There's more skippers on Demon Days.
I wouldn't even say that. I don't know about that. I would say there's more skippers on the first one.
I don't think so. I fucking love the first album.
It's by a matter of degrees. So
Yeah.
there's higher wash lines on the earlier albums, but yeah, the overall
It's
water
almost as
level,
if this is a subjective matter of taste.
it's super subjective.
Weird.
It's super subjective. But
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
that being said, the song,
But I get what you're saying, though.
yeah, the song that gets closest to a feel good ink for me on this, so it is my favorite and best, is Stylo. Stylo is just a fucking banger song. It is.
This was, I think, the first single for the album, wasn't it?
I think so too. And
I
it's
think
got
this
that,
was the song that was like the announcement of "Here Comes Plastic Beach,
yeah,
bitch."
yeah.
Dum dum dum. I love too how in the Stylo music video, Bruce Willis is not playing a character.
He's just
They're
Bruce
just
Willis.
being chased by Bruce Willis because you can see because it's 2D and Murdoch in the car.
Uh-huh.
So in the music video, 2D and Murdoch are driving in a car, and then partway through, Bruce Willis starts chasing them and shooting at them.
Uh-huh.
And when he starts chasing them, there's a shot you can see 2D's mouth. You can lip read that he's saying, "It's Bruce Willis."
That's really funny. I didn't catch
As he's
that.
like looking out the window, he's like, "It's Bruce Willis."
I didn't catch that. That's really funny.
That's so fucking funny.
Yeah, I think this song, this is one of my favorite kinds of songs, which is a song that you drive very fast to, very loudly to in the car. That is kind of, if I had to describe my favorite genre of music, it would be fun dance music that makes you want to drive in a car very fast. And that is
Totally.
exactly what this song is. The super driving, super satisfying, gritty, grimy synth bass part, just fat as fuck drums, backbeat, just it's super fun, and it's all programmed too, but it's really robotic and like just really fun. And you've got the kind of the contrast of like the really soaring, pretty Damon Albarn melodic stuff, and then it's this hard as fuck contrast with fucking Bobby Womack. Bobby fucking Womack, dude.
Yeah.
Across 110th Street, man. Fuck.
Yeah. That's what I'm talking about.
Dude.
Yeah. Dude. It's
Sometimes
so
it's hard.
Sometimes it's hard.
It's just
Right now.
Sometimes it is fucking hard as fuck.
Sometimes it is hard.
Sometimes it's hard as
Isn't
fuck.
it?
And it's when Bobby Womack starts singing on your song.
Yeah.
I don't have a whole lot to add other it's to me it's like far and away the best song on the album. I think a lot of people would say Melancholy Hill, which I also really like. I think is great. Could have easily been a standout for me, but yeah, I mean Stylo is the showstopper of the record for me.
Okay. My favorite best. So for me, best was easy. Favorite was hard.
Okay. Your favorite was really hard. Yeah, I
Favorite
agree
was
with you.
very hard. But I ended up picking my favorite song on this album is To Binge.
Wow. Okay. That is a really fun song. I agree with you. That is a fantastic song.
It's I can't think of another Gorillaz song that is. It's just like a duet. It's so classic. It's like a throwback to like 50s songs.
You're right.
You know, it's like a male female duet.
Mm-hmm.
Where and they totally capture this thing that like songs from like the 40s actually had the sort of where there's a male and female duet.
I love this. You're so right.
And lyrically, it sounds like they're each like speaking to another lover. Yeah. You know, like the male.
It's literally like baby. It's like baby, it's cold outside.
Right. Yeah. Or like where it can be interpreted that, so on the surface, it sounds like they're sharing lyrics of the same song where they're both singing a breakup song to another person who's not in the room. And they're just trading voices. But then there's that other edge to it where it can also sound like they're talking to each other. And we're listening to the two lovers.
You're right.
Singing the breakup lyrics to each other.
It is like one of those kind of when being a songwriter was like a 9-to-5 job in Tin Pan Alley. Like it is kind of that kind of song. You're so right. Man, that is a brilliant observation. Honestly, I did not pick. I picked up on the duet aspect, obviously, but I didn't think of it in that context. That's really great. I love that.
And it's just great Damon Albarn just singing.
Yeah.
Because he's such a fucking good singer. He
has a great voice.
Doing these weird ethereal things. Like, it's such a waste of his voice and his abilities. Yeah,
I like that.
He's just
though.
fucking singing on this song. It sounds
I
so
like
good.
that. I do like the distorted, megaphone thing. It just needs to be done tastefully. It can't. Yeah. It's like a crutch. It becomes.
He just did it too much for too long.
Yeah,
is all it is. I think.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's a great.
I just love the song, and the production is super like stripped down and simple.
And that guitar thing,
the songwriting.
Bow.
Exactly.
Bow. Like really
Which could
simple.
Also be an homage to the Twin Peaks theme. Bow.
Interesting.
Bow.
Interesting.
Maybe.
I don't know.
That might be a step too far, but
yeah. How dare you bring up Twin Peaks and David Lynch? That's my domain on this show, not yours.
Yeah, sorry.
You can't just bring up Twin Peaks. Fuck you. So what's your best? You still haven't mentioned Stylo to me, which is blowing my mind, but okay.
So my best is the song, which I think you astutely brought up. This album doesn't have as many S-tier Gorillaz songs as the first two. Mm-hmm. What I think is the best, which I think is really the one that belongs in the S tier of the cream of the crop, best needs to be on the Gorillaz Mount Rushmore, is On Melancholy Hill.
Sure. I think that's fair.
That's the one.
I think you're right. Album. I think you're right. A lot of people feel that way. I do love it. I don't know what it is. I think Stylo is still better, but I will concede that On Melancholy Hill does belong, maybe even more so than Stylo, on the Mount Rushmore. I think you're right.
I mean, it's had a more of a staying impact on the fandom than Stylo.
Yeah.
I mean, I think whether just on the song itself, on its own merits, belongs to be S tier or not, that's a subjective thing, and I think it's valid to argue.
And the fans have put it there. The fans have put it there.
Right, but yeah, On Melancholy Hill like hit people harder and like stuck with people more.
I think also it's like the one that is the most evocative of the album art too. So it does that Gorillaz thing where it successfully ties you into the Jamie Hewlett aspect the best, way better than Stylo does, I think, and probably better than most of any of the other tracks, honestly.
It's just the best written and made song by the conventions of song making.
And it's all Damon.
Yeah.
It's all Damon, which is nice.
But by the traditional and classical benchmarks of the ways that you're supposed to craft a song, this is the best one.
Yeah.
It's just because it's not just like one of the best Gorillaz songs. Like, it's one of the best songs from this period of time.
I agree.
Like it's a very like early 2010s. This is one of those like time capsule or like time machine songs that will like just transport you back to that time, and just like evokes the fucking zeitgeist of the like what we were talking about with Prodigy, right? Like this is what 1997 fucking felt like, This song is what 2010 felt like.
Sure. I agree.
And
good pick. I kind of had a feeling you would pick this one. I am shocked that Stylo didn't make any list of yours.
I kind of am too, especially when you put it on such a high pedestal as being both favorite and best. Yeah, I'm like,
it's so dope.
I didn't even pick it as a standout. That's interesting.
How about this? If you had to pick, because this album's so good, if you had to pick one honorable mention, what would it be? Because mine would be Pirate Jet, the last song.
I fucking love Pirate Jet.
Fucking love Pirate Jet. If you had to do a quick honorable mention, what would you have to say?
Broken.
Wow, so still not Stylo. I was trying to box you in.
I fucking love Broken.
Trying to box you in to pick Stylo somehow.
Broken,
but whatever,
is one of my favorite songs in this album. But I think why Stylo doesn't speak to me or hit me as hard is because of the copy paste aspect of it.
Interesting. See, and I didn't
think
pick
that's
up
what
on
it
that
is.
until you pointed it out. So now it's going to make me listen to the whole thing differently now.
Because every time that Mos Def opens his mouth, it's the same clip.
Okay. Are you ready? Speaking of Mos Def, are you ready for my hot take?
One last thing on Melancholy Hill.
Sure.
Which is, it's such an all-timer of like a bittersweet love song. And it's not even, it's so bittersweet and hits you in the feels. But it's interesting because it's very abstract. Like it's not even clear. Like, is this a dedication love song? Is this a breakup song? I can't even tell. Up on Melancholy Hill sits the manatee. You know, take that to mean what you will.
It's kind of it's a very Beatlesy kind of thing.
Yeah,
like
it's
Strawberry
surreal.
Fields.
It's got a surreal thing.
Yeah.
But musically, just sonically, the way that it hits, I feel like it's a baby brother of This Must Be the Place.
Yeah.
The Talking Heads.
I would say musically it's very Beatlesy as well. It's like really a John Lennon-y flowery. But I mean, I love that. I love putting it in the David Byrne mindset.
Yeah. And I guess it's mainly like the production and the arrangement, you know, the do ta.
Yeah.
Ta.
Yeah. Who I'm shocked David Byrne hasn't been in a Gorillaz project yet. They did work with Tina Weymouth. Tina Weymouth was on, I think, the first album like a tiny bit.
Her and Chris Frantz played percussion on 19-2000.
Okay. So you brought up Mos Def and kind of one of the things on, you said Stylo, right? Where you're kind of like, I can't.
Oh, are we going into hot take?
We are. Yeah.
Shit. Sorry. We forgot to say, tell us your favorite best in the comments. We want to know. We don't want to have a monopoly on favorite best. Tell us. Let's talk about it. Let's hash it out. Let's discuss it. Put them down in there.
Yeah. We want to hear
Tell us your favorite best.
We want to hear your favorite best in the comments. Yeah. I love favorite best. I think it's like one of the more clever segment ideas that we've had is favorite and best. They're not always the same thing. But
not always the
sometimes
same.
They are. Sometimes your favorite is the best, and sometimes the best is your favorite. Yeah, put them in the comments. Okay. So yeah, anyway, this is kind of my hot take on the album. The album has essentially no skips for me, except for one song. And that is Sweepstakes.
Dude.
I don't really like Sweepstakes. Kind of at all. I don't think it's it's not that I think it's like bad. It just feels it's a frustrating song to listen to because of how like scatterbrained and like chaotic it is.
I do not like this song.
It's a cool accomplishment in its own right, but it does not make for a satisfying song. It's kind of cool. It's one of those songs like I gotta hand it to them that they like pulled this off, you know, because it's really complex and weird. But like it fails as like a song that I want to listen to, really.
Right, yeah. Being something that sounds good and that I like listening to. No, not really. But the only thing about it is how Mos Def flows on this weird ass beat and the weird cadence and the weird ways that that places where he rides the beat and it makes it make total sense.
Yeah, it's cool.
It's fucking genius.
It's really cool.
It's amazing. And it's a really great, like, you know, if you just like want to look at an example of someone doing a really good job of riding a flow over an unorthodox beat. Yeah. It's a fantastic example. But other than that, I don't like listening to, I don't like this song.
I would point to, on the new one, The Mountain, Black Thought, his rap over Moon Cave, which is like over like a 6 feel, is fucking way more brilliant and cool than this, which is this Sweepstakes. To me, it feels indulgent. It just feels like a weird experiment that didn't totally save this for the B-sides, and it would be like really cool. Save it for the deluxe edition of the record.
Yep.
To me,
and also Booty Brown rapping in New Gold over 6/4.
Yeah.
Also,
so sick. Yeah, it just it to me, it breaks up the whole feel of the flow of the album in a really jarring way. Like you go from Broken, which is this really beautiful thing that kind of I think would naturally segue into the song Plastic Beach, and then for there, it's like you're set. Like the whole album is perfect.
Dude, you could take Sweepstake, just completely take it out, and the album would be fantastic.
Better. The album would be better from its omission. Actually,
you know what's trippy is I read somewhere, I think in the King James version of Wikipedia, that Sweepstakes was swapped out, and the original song that was in line to be on the album is the song Damascus.
Fucking no
which
way.
is now on The Mountain,
which is way better than this as well.
Damascus and they swapped it out for Sweepstakes.
That's crazy because Damascus is also way better. I think Damascus is one of the best songs on The Mountain.
This was a terrible decision.
Yeah. No, you know what though? Good for The Mountain because it makes The Mountain even better, and it fits better on The Mountain. I think.
I don't imagine if Sweepstakes was on The Mountain.
That would suck.
That would suck.
Yeah.
But it thematically makes no sense on The Mountain at all. And and that's another thing too, is Sweepstakes actually it's thematically connected to Plastic Beach, the excess, the modern consumerism and everything. Like that's the second strength of it.
Yeah.
It's thematically coherent, unlike Avatar, and so that's something that is a quality in the positive.
I will agree with you that like Plastic Beach can survive the blow of Sweepstakes being on it. Right. But I don't think The Mountain could survive the blow of Sweepstakes being on it. I think that would be a bridge too far. Plastic Beach is robust and strong enough that like having a Sweepstakes on it, whatever, skip it, fine, or listen to it. But I do agree with you that there are some moments in The Mountain that don't make it like a 10 out of 10 for me. That like if it also had fucking Sweepstakes on it, I'd be like, well, this is cool, but I don't know.
To follow in with your hot take that Sweepstakes is actually not great.
Not good, yeah. I think it's good, but I don't like it. I just don't like it.
Yeah, I don't like it. That's a better way to say it. I don't like it. A couple others that I don't like to go along with that. Also, Glitter Freeze I put in with that.
Glitter Freeze.
Where's north from here?
Oh, I agree with that, yeah. A little bit of a skipper. Not a full skip like Sweepstakes for me, but it's you're right. It's not one of the better songs for sure.
I mean, it's an instrumental. It's aggressive. I don't know. It just feels like an interlude. And I think part of why I don't like it too is it's
a filler track.
And here's the thing. It's a filler track, and it's one of the longest songs on the album. I generally don't
get
like it when people do that.
Yeah. And don't understand the decision there either.
Yeah.
Especially when the album is 56 minutes long. It's like you could cut this down and it would be better. It would be stronger.
I also want to mention in this discussion of songs that I don't really like as much. There so far in this conversation, there is one song that we haven't even mentioned at all. Well, no, actually, I take that back. I listed it as one of the songs that is an exception to the copy paste thing. But other than that, we have not talked about it at all.
Plastic Beach or Welcome to the World of Plastic Beach?
No, we talked about Snoop.
Orchestral
it's Rhinestone Eyes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you're right.
And this is a popular one with a lot of Gorillaz fans really like Rhinestone Eyes. It's one of the songs that actually is a full thing with verses and the whole thing. And
this is the biggest offender of the I am Damon Albarn now and I sing just like this.
That's what it is. It's the beginning. Yeah. This is patient zero of
I agree.
I don't like it, man. And I don't like the synth patches that he chose. Like the music is fine, but it's the patches. It's the tones and the timbres of the synths and the drums and everything. I just don't like the sounds in the song.
Amazing to me that I'm going to come away from this discussion liking Plastic Beach a little less than I did going into it. That's kind of amazing. But yeah, I think you're dead on about the ones you're nitpicking here. You're right. Rhinestone Eyes is a little annoying. Sweepstakes is a full skip, and I agree that Glitter Freeze is a weak point. These are all, you've articulated it well, my friend.
And everything else rules.
And everything else rolls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Are you ready for my hot take?
Oh, those weren't even your hot takes. Yes.
No, that was just me piggybacking on yours.
Sure. You're fleshing out my hot take to make it better than what it was.
My hot take, and this really sort of got solidified for me when we were at House of Kong, actually.
Mm-hmm.
All of a sudden, I just sort of realized that Gorillaz as a art project, as a piece of work, it seems like it is more meaningful than it actually is. Gorillaz is it means deceptively little artistically.
Do you mean like the lore?
No, the entire thing, the whole project, including the lore. The lore it's essentially just a bunch of random sequences of events that are very comic book-y, but they don't fucking mean anything.
Yeah, like it's not that deep.
Yeah, right. That's what I'm trying to say. My hot take is Gorillaz. Gorillaz seems like it's deeper than it actually is.
I think The Mountain tries to rectify that, and I think to a certain degree very successfully in the way
probably the deepest thing that they've ever done.
Easily,
it's about death and dying.
Yeah,
and
easily. Personal death and dying, the India stuff. They like do it in a really respectful, like cool way, where they kind of pay tribute to like the themes of Indian culture and music and world culture for that matter, and like how they all tie. Like to me, The Mountain, I might be being really corny right now, but like The Mountain does track to me as like a very deeply like spiritual, cool experience in a way that I would agree with you that like almost none of their other music does. Like especially Humans on is like, it is just kind of pop music. Like it's not really that interesting or like special from like an art perspective, from like, you know.
And this might be intentional, you know, I could definitely see the approach of taking like, all right, we're going to make the world's first cartoon band. It's going to be big. So what do we want to say? What is like the message? I could really see how it really is a viable choice to sort of have it be like, well, maybe what if it's really not anything in particular?
Yeah.
You know, what if it's just something that is aesthetic for people to enjoy?
It's surface.
Yeah. And doing that on purpose. And I don't think that's a bad thing to do if they did that. But it's mainly that like, especially, well, I don't know, from the beginning and all throughout, it's had this like graffiti, like street vibe to it. And it came out also like during the heyday of like Banksy.
Sure.
You know?
It does kind of have a Banksy vibe.
Yeah. But when you look at a Banksy work, you can instantly tell and perceive and map its meaning onto and its point of view onto real world, its commentary on real world things.
Yes.
And Gorillaz almost never is.
It's completely absent of that up until maybe their new record, arguably. But yes.
Right. The Mountain and this one, Plastic Beach, because it's about the pollution of the world. Yeah. Which is a very real thing. And you know, this is it's like a humorous, satirical like sarcastic commentary on a very real, very fucked up situation. You know, like we've fucking ruined our planet and it's probably too late. And just going, wee, you know, like I feel Plastic Beach and The Mountain might be the only two that are an exception to what I'm saying.
I think you're right. Plastic Beach, even that is just that theme of that deeper theme is just like a vehicle that they use that is like a means to an end to like a fun pop album. Like it's not really like, it's not like Damon Albarn was out here being like, we're going to make Plastic Beach so that we can start a Save the Ocean Fund.
That's true.
Like,
to my knowledge, they didn't do any of that.
They didn't do
right?
shit about it.
Yeah.
They don't. I think it's just a fun concept. Period. It's not that deep. I think
it's not that deep. Is what I'm saying.
It actually underscores, emphasizes the point you're making.
Yeah, and like a perfect example of this is like from Demon Days, the song "Kids with Guns." The most provocative thing that is in that song is the title. It's just the fact that it's called Kids with Guns. Kids with Guns. Bum, bum, bing, bing. It's such a fucking... It's one of my favorite Gorillaz songs. It's amazing. But this is what I mean, is it... Much like Jamie Hewlett's artwork, like Gorillaz, their drip, their fucking... The fashion that they're wearing is always so dope and so on point. And like it, like the song Kids with Guns, it seems like it means something very profound. But it's just a vibe.
Yeah. I think it's interesting to me that the mountain is the period of time where they start to finally reflect a little bit, because I think they're old because they're almost
fathers
60.
died.
Yeah. Both their fathers died and they're pushing 60, both of them. And it's like the first time it feels like they stopped being cheeky blokes in their lives and like actually like kind of had something a little more than surface level to say or to get across.
I hope you never experience this, that you and all of your family members live eternally and forever.
Yeah.
My father will never die. But something happens.
Yeah.
In a person's mind. I don't know what it's like. I only know what it's like, being a man in that position. I don't know if it's the same or different if you're not, but something happens in a man's mind when his father dies.
Yeah.
It's like a chapter change thing.
Yep.
Everything is different.
Yeah. You're up now. It's your turn next. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, anyway, it makes a lot of sense. And I'm really glad that they really took it
seriously,
dutifully to the artwork table and made their new album about it, and they did a great job.
Yeah, agreed.
I like the songs on Cracker Island way more, but whatever.
Shocked. I think the internet's going to be shocked that you like Cracker Island more as well. But you know what? I'm not here to pick a fight. I think Cracker Island's cool.
In terms of like how we talk about sometimes there are Nate albums and there are Brandon albums. Like Currents is a Brandon album and all this shit.
Cracker Island is a Brandon Gorillaz.
Cracker Island is such a Brandon album.
I would say the first one is the most Nate Gorillaz album. It's just
vibe.
Yeah, vibe. No, it's like it's rough around the edges, which I really like. That's what I like about it. But
Dan the Automator, got to give up props to Dan the Automator.
Yeah. Anyway, I need to pee really bad, and then let's go to final thoughts. Starting to have that like I have to pee feeling that was like giving me existential dread. Like, will I ever not feel this way?
Yeah, I've forgotten what it feels like to not have to pee.
Yeah, can I go?
I hate that. Yeah.
Can I please use the potty, teacher? Please,
teacher, mommy. I'm not your mommy, Ralph.
Yeah.
By the way, you don't have to put this in there, but the other thing that I noticed about how it's not as meaningful as it could be is I remember when we were when we were at the concert and the Happy Dictator started.
Yeah.
And then the image of Murdoch came up.
And it's like a total joke.
Yeah. And it's like, dude, holy shit. We're here 2026. They're making a song about a dictator. And then I was listening and waiting for it. Like, how much does this song have to do about Trump?
None.
Not at all.
None. Yeah, you're right.
Not even a shade of connecting whatsoever.
It's in the same way that Plastic Beach is just using a real horrifying ecological crisis to use as a shell they wrap their album in to sell like a fun pop album. They're doing the same thing with the existential dread of like right-wing authoritarianism takeover of the world. But
but we're not even going to mention, we're not going to talk about that.
Yeah, we're not even going to take it on in a serious way, which I would levy as a no pop artists are taking it on in a real way. It's like a real failing of like all major artists that they all care more about the bottom line and not rocking the boat more so than like, I don't know, using their platform and money and power to actually like do something like artists in the 60s would have. They would have fucking laid their whole careers on the line, you know.
It's a fucking silent generation, man.
Yeah.
Baby boomers get they always get the credit for that. But all those artists who were doing that, they were silent generation.
Yeah.
But, you know, I guess the thing that boomers have deserve credit for is they actually went to those shows and bought tickets and they bought those albums and they fucking listened to it.
And then subsequently learned all the wrong lessons from all of those artists that they purported as being so important. So final thoughts, Brandon.
Final thoughts.
I'm really struck by how much you've convinced me to like Gorillaz a little less today.
How did that happen? That is like some unintended splash damage. That is not what I was trying to do.
You convinced me that Plastic Beach is not perfect, that there are plenty of skips on it, actually. More than some of the other albums we've listened to and picked. You've convinced me that they're not really that deep. They don't really have a whole lot to say.
I didn't intend to talk shit about Gorillaz. I fucking love Gorillaz.
What I'm getting at is
I'm just making observations.
I agree with you. I think you're right when you say that the Gorillaz are a bad, terrible band. And you're right about that. Actually, I wouldn't say that I would say that, but I think for you and how important it is for you to feel that way, I think you're right for you, not me, to feel that way and not the rest of everybody that watches the show. But you get to feel that way on your own little Plastic Beach. You can feel that way.
You really get what I'm saying here.
Yes. Yep.
I feel seen and heard.
Yeah. How about you? Much like Gorillaz, I don't have anything that deep to say about Gorillaz other than that, like, we saw them live. We did the House of Kong thing, and it was like one of the coolest fucking couple weeks of. It was by far. I don't think we've ever done this level of research for an episode or like prep for an episode. Like,
right. Yeah.
Like we may never again beyond like just going to a concert or something. But like, yeah, it was. This was truly like a really rich, fun experience world to dive into. The world of Gorillaz, like how deep or shallow it is kind of whatever, but like it's still so fun. Like they to me are totally in the conversation of like, frankly, like the Pink Floyds, the Nirvanas, the fucking like the like Beatles, like they're way up there when it comes to just like really, really famous popular bands that like should be a part of that like rock and roll pantheon continuum of like.
I think they probably will be in the future, like 30 years from now.
Yeah,
I think Gorillaz is going to be like one of the things that people are saying that, dude, you got to check them out to understand like music history. Like
it's like, oh, you like Beatles, Stones, Zeppelin, Nirvana, all that stuff, you know, all those.
Like, dude, you gotta check out Gorillaz. Man.
Also Gorillaz. Yeah. I think so.
Right, because Nirvana and everything is the one that's all that's all still years that start with 19. You know, right. Gorillaz is one that's every single to really understand what was going on with music in the years that start with a 2. You know,
they're huge. They're a huge part of it. How about you? Any final wrap up thoughts, ideas, other than that you like hate the band and don't like the music?
It's just that Gorillaz is one of my favorite, sources of music and art of my entire life, and And my favorite takeaway from this whole experience of deep diving into this is that I came away with like what is like now my new favorite album, which is Cracker Island.
That's fun.
I mean, not that it's my favorite album of all time, but it's my it's my album for
right now,
for Brandon Girl Summer, which is coming up.
And I would agree. I feel the same way, but about The Mountain, I'm just like, I can't stop listening to it. My biggest frustration with this was how much I had to listen to other stuff that wasn't The Mountain while I was doing that. I still managed to listen to The Mountain like a million times. But I agree.
I do love The Mountain too.
Yeah.
Not as much.
And I do like Cracker Island. I think we both feel the same way about the respective records, where it's like, yeah, it's obviously good, but it's just not my thing. I totally agree with you. Yeah. So next pick.
Next pick.
I will admit my next pick is a little bit of a cynical algorithm-driven choice, but a choice that we would have done on the show sooner or later anyway. But I think to coincide with the new Michael Jackson biopic film, Michael.
You're going to steal my pick.
I am stealing your pick because we have to do it now, motherfucker. We can't wait.
This is why I should never mention to you in conversation what I'm considering picking at some point in the future, because it just plants the seed in your mind and you're like,
no, it doesn't.
Huh.
No.
You're like that thing where it's like, you made this? Oh, no, I made this.
Brandon, the show.
That's you.
For the betterment of the show, I have to steal your pick right now. Okay.
Look, I invented this album. I'm the one who created it, not Michael Jackson. It belongs to me.
Okay. No. That's fair. But anyway, we are going to do the Michael Jackson album, Bad.
Dude, fuck yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I fucking love this album.
Yeah. So like I said, it's a little bit of a cynical timing. We're going to do it to coincide with the new, probably dumb movie about Michael Jackson coming out that I can't wait to go see and probably dislike strongly. But
as Nate knows, and I can't remember if I've mentioned this before, but biopics, and especially biopics about musicians, are by far my least favorite genre of movie.
Even just watching the trailer for it, watching the trailer for it, I'm so annoyed. Like I'm totally willing to like give it a chance, but like I skip most of these biopics and I trash almost all of them. Like I did not like the Bob Dylan biopic. I skipped the Queen biopic. Like they're all so formulaic and rote.
Did you see the Bob Marley one?
I did not. I skipped the Bob Marley one.
Dude.
Don't give a fuck. Like
it's so fucking stupid.
I'm dreading it, but it'll give us an opportunity to talk about one of my favorite artists of all time. Michael Jackson, to me, is obviously extremely controversial. I'm not a fan of his music. I'm more a fan of the other stuff he's known for.
What?
Just kidding. Obviously a horrible, distasteful joke. Obviously a horrible, distasteful joke. No, he's really, really controversial, obviously. And I don't know. I didn't think doing Thriller would be all that interesting. Even Off the Wall, I wouldn't want to do, because I as much as I like it, I don't think it's as good as Thriller. I think Bad is Bad.
Off the Wall is baby Thriller.
Yeah, Bad is a really interesting inflection point in Michael Jackson's career to talk about. It's musically, production wise. I think this is probably the most interesting,
very interesting thing
to talk about Michael Jackson. So yeah, Bad by Michael Jackson. Hopefully it'll be good, the episode.
And especially too, like how you talked about how big 80s production is now.
Yeah.
This will reveal, as you go out and, hopefully listen to Bad in preparation for our next episode, this will reveal how the 80s production that has remained in time and that people still use after the 80s is only a certain subsection of 80s production.
There's quite a bit we left to the dustbin of history, and it's on Bad. It is all over
this
Bad.
Style people do not do anymore.
Yeah.
And I can't wait to talk about it.
Which is interesting because I would say like Thriller is like basically timeless, even from like a production standpoint, and Bad while the songs are very good on it, the production is timeless. It's really good in its own way for the time, but it is one of those like good for the time type albums,
Right, yeah.
you know, in a way that Thriller's not. Thriller is the more aesthetically pleasing record to listen to. But anyway, yeah. So this has been Gorillaz Plastic Beach. Next week or whenever we do it, we'll be back. Sorry we were late on this episode. Brandon almost was 187, I think. So.
Yeah, I had to stay away from the murder for a bit.
So everyone, love and prayers
Just
to
LA
Brandon.
things.
Love and prayers to Brandon. He lives south of the 10, as Kendrick would like to say. So
that's right.
He gets to be front row to some of the stuff that happens down there sometimes. Anyway, if you want to support Black Market Dub, Playback, whatever, Playback, if you want to support the show, we are also a band. You can support us on Patreon, patreon.com/blackmarketdub. We have a whole bunch of music on Bandcamp, a bunch of EPs, a bunch of great records that eventually we'll add to. Hopefully we'll start making some new music soon. We keep talking about it, but it's been tough to actually work on music lately. But lots of fun stuff. Bandcamp.com/blackmarketdub, patreon.com/blackmarketdub. Go support us, please. Any little amount helps. We are a pretty small operation. It's just me and Brandon doing everything. Please leave comments. Tell us your favorite best. We do want to hear that. We're going to start a new segment on the show coming up where we read some of the more controversial comments that don't poop on us or the show. Not those kind of comments. We're going to skip those. We'll ignore you. You won't get any airtime. But if you leave a thoughtful...
Nate gets really bothered by negative comments.
No, I don't. I don't at all. I think I don't care. I'm very neutral about all the comments.
That's a real hard time.
I don't. I'm super neutral about it. It's not a big deal to me at all. I don't get pressed ever about weird comments or bad comments, especially about me. It's not a big deal, so don't leave bad comments ever. Thank you. But yeah, if you have anything constructive to say in the comments that is not disparaging to our show and is a cool musical idea that maybe you noticed or wanted to point out about one of our episodes, we'll discuss it on the show.
Or something nice to say about me.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
We'll discuss it on the show. It'll be cool. So yeah, we're going to start doing that probably in the next episode.
Yeah.
Brandon.
Yo.
Do you have any final banana peels for us to slip on? Gorillaz wise.
I do.
Okay.
All right, everybody. Goodbye. We love you. And remember, integrate and then we ain't leaving. We come in peace. White flag. White flag.
Peace.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.